Hello, my name is Kindson Munonye, as you know, and today we'll continue from where we stopped on the project time management knowledge area. Previously on this knowledge area, we discussed plan schedule management, a process that outlines the procedures and guidelines to follow in schedule management. And that process, plan schedule management, produces the schedule management plan. Today, we are going to look at define activities. And define activities is the process of identifying and documenting the specific actions to be performed to produce project deliverables. The key benefit of this process is it breaks down work packages into activities, providing a basis for estimating, scheduling, executing, monitoring, and controlling project work. Implicit in this process are defining and planning the schedule activities such that the project objectives will be met. The create WBS process, which is the last planning process under the project scope management knowledge area, it identifies the deliverables at the lowest level, which is the work package. But now in define activities, the work package are decomposed into smaller components called activities. And activities represents the work effort required to complete the work package. The input, tools and techniques and outputs of the defined activities include: for the input we have the schedule management plan, the scope baseline, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. 3 tools and techniques are used, and they are decomposition, rolling wave planning, and expert judgment. The define activities process yields the activity list, activity attributes, and milestone list. Let's now take a look at these items to see why exactly they apply to this process. Why do we need the schedule management plan to define activities? Because the schedule management plan is the prescribed level of detail necessary to manage the work. What we are saying is that the schedule management plan gives the detail on how the activities will be defined, guidelines on how the activities will be defined. The scope baseline, which is the WBS, the WBS dictionary, and the project scope statement. So all these are documented in the scope baseline, and they are needed to define activities. So the project WBS deliverables, constraints and assumptions are documented in the scope baseline and are considered while defining activities. Another input that is very necessary is enterprise environmental factors. Some of them that can influence defined activities should be organizational culture and structure, publish commercial information from commercial databases, and project management information system. Organizational process assets can also influence defined activities. For instance, lesson learned from previous projects, standardized processes, templates, existing formal and informal activity planning, related policies and procedures. Alright, so we have the scope baseline, the scope management plan, the schedule management plan, EEFs, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets serves as inputs. Now, what are the tools and techniques? One important tool will be decomposition. Decomposition was used when we created the WBS, okay? Because the items or the work is broken down to the lowest level, which is the work package, and that is under the scope management. But this time we are grabbing the work packages and breaking them down into activities. So decomposition is a tool and techniques used in define activities, is a technique for dividing and subdividing the project scope and project deliverables into smaller, more manageable parts. Activities represent the effort needed to complete the work package. So the define activities process defines the final output as activities and not as deliverables, as is the case with create WBS process. Activity lists, which is the output of defined activities. We also have the WBS and WBS dictionary. All these can be developed sequentially or maybe in parallel, with the WBS and WBS dictionary as a basis for development of the activity list. Each work package within the WBS is decomposed into activities required to produce the work package deliverables. Involving team members in the decomposition can lead to a better and more accurate result. Another tool and techniques used in defining activities is rolling wave planning. This is a very interesting term, rolling wave planning. So from the name you can try to understand what it means. It is an iterative planning technique in which the work to be accomplished in the near term is planned in detail, while the work in future is planned at a higher level. So rolling wave planning is a form of progressive elaboration where you use the details you have to plan in details, and the details or the information that is not very clear, you can of course use it to plan much, but as time progresses you get more details and then you elaborate. Okay, so rolling wave planning is a tool and technique and is a form of progressive elaboration. This means that work can exist at various levels of details depending on where it is in the project life cycle. Early in the project life cycle, when information is less defined, work packages may be decomposed to the known level of detail. As more is known about the upcoming events in the near term, work packages can be decomposed into activities. Also, we have expert judgment. Project team members or other experts who are experienced and skilled in developing detailed project scope statements and WBS, they can provide expertise in defining activities. Let's now look at the outputs. The outputs include activity lists, activity attributes, and milestone lists. Let's start with the first one, activity list. The activity list is a comprehensive list that includes all scheduled activities required on the project. It also includes the activity identifier and a scope of work description for each activity in sufficient detail to ensure that project team members understand what work is required to be completed. Each activity should have a unique title that describes its place in the schedule, even if that activity title is displayed outside the context of the project schedule. Activity attributes. Activity attributes are attributes of or details of the various activities. So activities have durations, which is an attribute during which the work of that activity is performed. Then we also have resources needed to complete the activity, as well as costs associated with the work. Activity attributes extend the description of the activity by identifying the multiple components associated with each activity. The components for each activity evolved over time. Still on activity attributes, during the initial stages of the project, activity attributes include the activity identifier, WBS ID, accuracy, activity label or name, and when completed may include activity codes, activity description, predecessor activities, successor activities, logical relationship, leads and lags, resource requirements, imposed dates, constraints, and assumptions. So you see that these attributes is quite detailed. So much information is given about the activity. Activity attributes is very important because it can be used to identify the person responsible to execute the work, the location, area where the work has to be performed, the project calendar the activity is assigned to, and the activity type, such as the level of effort needed, discrete effort, and apportioned effort. So activity attributes are used for schedule development and for selecting, ordering, and sorting the planned schedule activities in various ways within the report. So just a reminder, define activities provides the activity list of activities, meaning the work package is broken down to activities. So list of activities, activity attributes, and the milestone list. The last output, which is the third output, is a milestone list. What is a milestone anyway? A milestone is a significant point or event in the project. So let's give an example. If you are building a 20-kilometer road, okay, a 20-kilometer dual carriage way, and then you might say after each 5 kilometer, you have a milestone. So it means you've accomplished 5 kilometers, or you can say 20 milestone, 1 kilometer, 1 milestone, and so on and so forth. So significant points in the project or event. A milestone list is a list identifying all project milestones and indicates whether the milestone is mandatory, such as those required by the contract may be specified in the project charter, or optional, such as those based on historical information. Milestones are similar to regular scheduled activities with the same structure and attributes, but milestones have zero duration. Milestone does not have any duration like activities that have duration. Milestone doesn't have a duration. Milestones simply represent a point in time, a stage that you've reached, or a moment in time, so no duration. So I'm sure you've learned much. Let's review what we've learned. We have these three outputs of defined activity: activity list, activity attributes, and milestone list. And we have tools and techniques, that is the composition, rolling wave planning, and of course expert judgment. For input we have project scope management, schedule management plan. Is that? Let's go back to check. The inputs are schedule management plan, scope baseline, the EEFs, and the OPAs. I'm sure you can spend some time to get used to these items. I want to thank you very much for joining me, and please join me in my next presentation as I'm going to examine sequence activities.